Guys, so I thought to put together some, let's say, kind of guide, right? Don't worry about the pro tip thing. Let's just call it a guide, okay? Um, where you can have a quick go-to, unlike when I just talked about most of these things in the course of the video while doing them, right? I just thought to put something together for you so you can have share call it a reference, a fallback. Yeah, that's the word. A fallback to maybe to be able to do some checks, right? Because I've seen many points where data analysts feel lost when it comes to data cleaning. They just do not know what to do. They are just lost. They're just lost. They just do not know what to do, and that can be a career threatening. What's the word now? A career threatening. I don't have the word right now. So it can be career threatening. So let's just put it that way. So when you feel lost every time, and we already established the fact that because in the process of analytics, we have data cleaning as a core, right? After you define your objectives, your goals, you define the business question, whatever it is, and the next thing is that you have the relevant data, you collect the relevant data, that means data relevant to the analysis you want to carry out, then you jump into cleaning and preparation, cleaning or preparation, any way you want to put it. So since it's a core part of analysis, and some data analysts just get lost. They're just lost. It's just like a wonderland where they lose themselves completely. They don't know what to clean, what not to clean, how to do it. I think the major challenge they have is the how. And it's a, should I call a legitimate fear? If I can use the word legitimate, I don't know if that goes well, but it's a real fear, right? And it is not something you should say, why would you have that kind of fear? No, you should just be guided through or how to overcome that fear, right? So I thought to put something together beyond what we've done practically. You can have a guide, right? So say, oh, whenever I want to clean, I can check out this, I can check for this, I can check for that. So that would be a guide for me. However, I will say a disclaimer that let me uncheck the lines first, and also the formula bars. We'll not need them. The headings, I'll leave the headings, right? All right, let's click out. I just have to wait so that this doesn't freeze on me. Okay, so I think we're good now. So I just have to say as a disclaimer that it is not a one size fits all thing. Okay, these are just common things I thought to put together. I repeat, it is not a one size fits all thing. And that's why if you go online, you'll see some abbreviations that have been attached to data cleaning. You'll see some life cycle, data cleaning life cycle. You'll see different things, right? And as beginners, that can be overwhelming, right? You just go here, you go here, you go here. I'll just say a few things which are key, right? The first thing is what I've mentioned. It is not a one size fits all, but I did well to point out all the things you need to know to explore together. Secondly, is always, like I mentioned when we're doing the actual cleaning, rely on the business rules because context is important when it comes to data cleaning. Context, and that's why sometimes it's good to know how data is collected. It's important, and that's why as data analyst you should understand the data sources we have, what can go wrong when data source you collect data through a particular source. Likely things, just few things. Don't worry, I'm not pushing you out again to start learning a lot of things. I'm just saying, but this I've put together for you will do the work, and you'll be able to confidently clean data. Okay, but two disclaimers or two major things. It's not a one size fits all thing, right? But I did well to cover most of what you ever need, right? And the second thing is rely strongly on the business rules, right? Ask questions. If you find something that is empty, it's null. Ask questions. They might know why. They are the best person to tell you why it is missing. Then you can now come up or think of a way to handle the values, right? Different things like that. So it's very important. So anyway, the objective is to learn. The objective is to learn to identify bad, that's why bad, dirty, chaotic data and transform it into a reliable, analysis-ready one. I want to bring it from bad, dirty, chaotic to analysis-ready. If we were to define data cleaning, we can define it as the process of identifying, because you have to identify first. Will you know automatically that a data is dirty? No, you won't. You have to explore, you have to find out, right? Which is why it's a core step in data analysis, right? So, identifying or correcting or removing incompleteness, inconsistency, and inaccuracies. Those three words only were used because that's more of the quality dimension, data quality checks, right? And the golden rule is this: very simple. What you give it, it gives back to you. You remember we said bad data, bad insight. Dirty data, wrong insight. Flawed data, flawed insight. It's as simple as that. So the golden rule, that's the golden rule. It's a garbage in, garbage out thing. If your data is flawed, your insights will be messy. It will be wrong, right? And the reality check is this: is the truth that 50 to 75% of the time, right, we spend time cleaning data. It's just so important. I've seen cases where data analysts are excited about the visualization part, about the actual, where the whole analysis comes to play, where data starts to make sense and all of that. But if you skip this, it's a boring, right? It depends. You might enjoy boring things. So boring things can be enjoyed anyway. So it's boring. Sometimes I use the word tedious, and depending on the size and on the amount of data, it can be a lot of work. But you have to enjoy it, learn to enjoy it, right? If you skip this foundational step, you're heading for damnation, if I can use that word. I don't know if it's a big word to use, but you're heading for a wrong place. It's just like speed in the wrong direction, I think. So vector quantity, scalar quantity, those examples just come to my head. That's physics anyway. Magnitude and direction, one with just that magnitude. So speed in the wrong direction is destruction, is chaos, right? So it's important that we take time to clean the data. It's just like this is, I don't know if it's a proverb or a guy on hard age that says, if you are given 6 hours to cut down a tree, it's good to spend the first 3 hours or 4 hours sharpening your tool. Why? It makes your work faster. It makes your work efficient. It's a good thing to do and all of that. Just to mention. All right. Why is data dirty? Why can't we just have, this is a part of us when we start doing this, can't we just have clean, perfect data? Well, like I said, like what you might see being used online, maybe in some videos you've seen, random videos online, this and that. Of course, those were used to, since that is not the focus, if that's not the focus, so you can move fast, learn fast, right? Some of the clean, as it were, data sets were used, right? And you can get some of those clean data sets from, let's say, for example, Kaggle. Kaggle is an online free public data set source, right? Public data set, that means you can use it without any legal implication. So it's a data set you can pick and work on at any time. Kaggle, Kaggle, Kaggle. Okay. So, but in the reality of data is not always clean. In the reality of the business world, in the reality of data itself. Why? We mentioned it last time. It's subject to human errors, systems, and constraints, right? Some constraints why data cannot be clean. And now these are some common sources of data issues. Human error, the typo, manual entry mistakes, misread notes. It could be anything. For example, it could be formatting. someone is used to, let's say, date format, date, month, and year, or someone is used to month, day, and year, and they input those things in the same column. Maybe not one person is assigned to do that. See, all those inconsistency comes in. Someone might not be patient enough, or for any reason, maybe use a kind of convention, maybe all lowercase, when we have all uppercase somewhere, we have proper case in there as well. Things like that happen. They happen. Software errors, right? Software bug or data loss during transfer between system, maybe during migration, all of those things. It could be merging source issue, the way it is in a source, and that's why we speak about consistency, right? The way a particular value, data value, is in a source is different from the one in another, right? So these are common issues with data. All right. Scroll. Oops, why is that doing that? Okay, common data issues again. I think that should be common. Yeah, same thing, same thing. Okay, those are the issues of the sources. So the common issues we find with data most of the times are missing values, duplicate record. Duplicate is not so common, but it's part of what we see most of the time. Not as common as common. So we have missing values, duplicate record, inconsistent formatting, incorrect data type, outliers, typos, or errors, right? These are some issues you find with data many times. Okay. So what are the things you should look out for? I call them the 5 pillars to strive for. Majorly are the first 3 are the quality dimension part, but the other 2 are necessary. Okay. So the first one is accuracy. Right? Does it match a true value? Is it accurate? Is this true value? It's real. Right? The second one is completeness. Is a required data missing? For example, there's a purchase and there's no customer ID or customer name attached to that purchase. So you don't know who. It's more like a ghost purchase, right? Completeness. Required data is not missing. For example, on a customer table, for example, on a student table, the student ID is missing, something is flawed, right? Consistency, right? The same format, the same convention, and all of that used across the systems, right? Validity. Does it follow major rules, basic things, right? Or it could be business rules as well. For example, age cannot be negative, right? Just for example, in school context, score cannot be negative, right? You cannot have -5. Yeah, I know cases in where you say, oh, you hold me mark and all that, but in the reality of it, you cannot have a negative score, right? Uniformity, right? The way you write it, could be in units, right? Units of the thing, maybe currency. Are you having mixed currency? So if you're having mixed currency, you might think of one that is a base currency, right? General one, the USD. So that if it's an international kind of business that has different currency, so you can convert everything to USD for consistency, for uniformity, right? Then just keep it that way. And based on the country, right, you have another column indicating the country. Then if you want the actual currency, then you can do some calculations to get that. All right. So I'm just basically reading and explaining what I have. Here. So the first step. Now, when it comes to this step, they are not necessarily the order, right? It's not as it were put in a certain order to follow, but it's a good order. This particular order is a good one, but it's not a strict order to follow. Like, oh, you should not miss this. You should do this first, and all of that. The first thing is more like a pro tip. Always have a backup of your data. This also has context to it, right? But it's good to always have a backup of your clean data. It's good to have, of the original data. In case anything goes wrong, you can fall back. It's just a way to fall back. It's just a way to fall back. Trust me, it's always a good thing to have or to do. Then the second thing is to know your data. Know your data. I mentioned it is something very important. Know your data. It can help you spot red flags as well. Okay. Know your data. Check the structure. Okay. Check the structure because you should have your data. When we're discussing this in the actual cleaning process, we mentioned the fact that your data should be accurate, complete, consistent, and structured, right? So you should check your structure. It should be in the plain, no fancy, no stuff, design, and all of those things, no merge columns, etc. So it's in a proper rows and columns, right? Just the rectangular structure, no plain, raw like that. All right. Step 2, removing duplicates and irrelevant data. For good reasons, we will need to remove irrelevant data, right? The irrelevant data will not necessarily be records. It could be columns as well, right? It could be columns as well. But let's talk about duplication first. So deduplication, I'm not sure I put that there, but deduplication. Yeah, I think it's just English. Okay. All right. So we have exact or column specific. We mentioned that when we're trying to clean. So identify records that may inflate your result. For example, you have just 10 students, but due to duplicates, your number is showing 13, right? So it's important because that will be wrong analysis already. All right, so important to check. Like I said, will you know when your data is dirty? No, you have to do the checks. You have to check. That's why you have to know your data. Do a profile, look at what's going on, check, know your data. Know your data. We mentioned the pro tip, sort of filtering, right? Very important. That's how you check. That's how you find out if things are wrong. We already discussed that. If you missed out on that video, do want to check it. You can see the sheets down here. We work with this, we work with this, right? So, filtering irrelevant data or removing them or deleting or dropping them, not necessarily deleting, dropping, let me use not drop. It's still removing and deleting, but it's okay. If you're analyzing sales of 2024 now, maybe from 2010 might just be, the gap is like a lot of things have changed, right? So that might be relevant, except you remove it to improve performance definitely, except stated otherwise. Like they actually don't see maybe historical records and then compare it to what is happening as a significant difference and all of that. If not, those data like that will be archived already, right? So you can just keep them there and work with more recent things. Another thing could be um the columns, right? I mentioned the columns where you can have some columns that are not relevant, right? For example, if you have a full address column and you'll not be doing anything with it, right? Say you already have a postal code, you have them separate, you still have them as a full column, you might drop the full address column because it will be behaving as a text and you might not necessarily be able to do anything with it, right? The full address column where you have everything in full. Or for whatever reason, of course, for example, PIIs, right? You can drop PII columns. What else? Any column that is not relevant to your analysis, just drop them. It's speed up performance. It improves performance for you. Okay. Handling missing values, right? Handling missing values. Removing rows. Deletion, that's the first thing. Remove row if it's mostly empty. But be careful because while you're taking something out, you also know that you're losing some other information about that particular record. So unless if you be a person, okay, say for example, the date a record happened, the date a transaction happened was not logged, right? The date a transaction happened was not logged. And because the date was not logged, you want to delete the entire row, which is a record. I hope you know you'll be losing the actual amount, the quantity, and other things about that. What's it called? About that record, which is not a wise decision to make. So what you can do is maybe use the backward and forward fill option, right? You can go online and read about backward and forward fill. Backward and forward fill is where you use the last previous value or the next previous value, right? Since it has context, since it's for example the transaction date now. Okay, based on the fact that okay, this is the next date after this transaction happened, and this is the date before it, so you can use any of those values. That's more like the backward and forward fill. Mostly used in Python, machine learning, and all of that. But okay, it's data cleaning. Yes, it's a standard data cleaning procedure. Okay, so we can delete an entire row is almost empty. For example, maybe required values are not even there. So what we have is not relevant to us. We can delete the entire row. Right. Like I said, when it comes to cleaning, you also rely on business rule. Ask questions. Be sure that they, oh yeah, that's okay. You can take it out, or it's not needed, or whatever it is. Okay. So if you don't know your data in the first place, you won't be able to ask those questions as well. All right. The next one is imputation. Like you fill up missing values, which could be using average or median. That's mean or median. Why mean or median? Mean is heavily impacted by an outlier. We'll talk about outlier. So mean is heavily impacted by an outlier. So if your mean and median are far from each other, very far, then you can tell that there's an outlier in your data, right? So go for median if you have an outlier in your data, right? Use the median instead to fill. That's for numerical. For categorical, that means for text kind of data, you use the mode. That means the most occurred, the most frequent, right? Use the mode. Depending on the context, you can just flag it using the option C, using placeholder or known, right? But all of these things are more particular when we are building, for example, using mode to fill categorical data is more particular when we're building machine learning models, because we don't want a model to train on so many empty values for good training, right? We want to give it as much data as we can, right? So that it can predict better for us. So we might want to consider that. But in data analysis, we might not, quote and unquote, might not necessarily maybe fill in with an actual value. We can leave it empty, we can leave it null. You can use a placeholder, just say not stated, not specified, any, unknown, whatever it is, okay? All right. So that's that for placeholder, okay? And of course, the backward and forward fill, which I already mentioned. Now, structural errors, right? Standardizing name and formats. All of these things are what we did during the cleaning. String manipulation. You fix typo errors. Capital letter Apple, small letter Apple, and all caps Apple. So to a standard one. Emails in all lowercase. Just few things like that. Your date formatting. Format to one specific format. It's either month, day, and year, year, day, and month, year, month, and day, whatever it is, depending on the system you also use. Just do that. Trimming, remove extra space. For example, this might not be obvious, but there's a space here, and this, anything that goes in your quotes, anything within a quote is literal. It's taken literally, right? So the space here, that means this Chicago with a space is not the same as this Chicago without a space. So you have to remove all of those things, right? Very important. The next one is dealing with outliers. What are outliers? Outliers are values that are extremely different. Right. So outliers are values that are extremely different from a range. So let's say the maximum is 10, the minimum is 4, and you have a 50. Of course, statistically speaking, right? We we will have to perform some operation on it, right, to be able to detect that, okay, this is actually an outlier. For example, the easiest one is to use box plots, box and whisker plots, or scatter plots. These are just basic Excel, things you can do with Excel. These are things you can just do with Excel, nothing serious, right? So to detect if they're an outlier in, let's say, EDA or Python, using Python and all of that, some other speaking in context of what we're saying, 50 is extremely different from the range. Minimum 4, maximum 10. 50 is like, oh, okay, and where are you now? Or something like that. It's just out of the range, way out of the range. Or you find a minus 12. Minus 12. It does not necessarily mean when we carry out some statistical operation on them that they will still be an outlier. But we're just saying in the context of this example, I mean, to the human eyes or ears, that's what we can say they are. Okay. Box plots, basic Excel way, right? Now, these rules are not Excel specific only, right? They go wide range, right? They go wide range. This entire guide I've put together is not just Excel specific, right? It's good with Excel, good outside Excel as well. So use box plot to box or scatter plot to visually find values that are way outside the norm, right? The range. Evaluating now, you have to think. Like I said, that's why asking questions is good. Asking questions are good. Asking questions are good. Asking questions is good. Okay, that's English problem. Okay, so evaluating. You want to be sure that is this a mistake or it's just a once in a while kind of thing. Putting it in simple context and English, right? Is it a mistake, right? Or probably the person wanted to enter, if it's a data entry thing, maybe probably the person wanted to enter 10, or the person wanted to enter 10 and then accidentally entered 1000. Or is it just a once in a while thing when, oh, someone just decided to maybe hang out with friends and they thought that one big size, or just pack everything like that. These purchases happen, but they don't happen frequently, right? So you have to be sure. How can you be sure? You ask questions. If you don't get the definite answer, then you document your way of handling it. That's just it. Okay, just document your way of handling it. What should you do when you find out? Remove, like you can see, only if you have a legitimate reason to believe that it is incorrect or irrelevant to your specific goal. So that's why you have to know this outlier. So outlier are not necessarily what? Bad. They just raise a concern. They raise a concern. They open a life ticket that you have to attend to, right? You can't just ignore, right? So they raise a concern that we have to, let's investigate the data, what's going on, why do we have this there, and all of that, right? Very important. So yeah, that's duplicated. I hope I edited the rest correctly and see step 5. I think that's the step 5. Is that step 5? Is that like 3 times? Anyway, I'll just move on. Okay. This is slowing down. I'm not sure why. Okay. Step 6. Alright, we're there already. Sanity checks, right? After you've done all of this, do well to check your data. Validate what you did. Be sure you didn't do something out of place, right? You can run your statistics summary, your quick profile. Did your average price change drastically? Those are just examples for you anyway. Right, just check again. Is there something, did something abnormally change after you're done cleaning? Right. And very important, document the changes you made so that others or your future self can reproduce your work, because these things are guide. They can repeat, you can use them repeatedly. As much as it's not a one size fits all thing, it's a guide you can follow over and over again. And with your own thought process laid out, you can help them. Okay, you can help others or your future self do a better job, do a good job, make it easy for yourself, make it easy for the person, right? So when you document your steps, your processes, right, you can say, oh, this is how I handle this, and the person, oh, okay, see, you let the person into your reasoning, and then the person learns something, corrects you, whichever way, but you made someone better. That's just the point. All right. So yeah, we'll come to the end. Don't worry about the pro tip. Call it int, not necessarily pro tip. You can call them pro tip or int. All right. Choosing your cleaning kit. These are more like open source. Should I use the word open source? These are more like common. Okay, let me use the word common. Yeah, if I use the word common now, someone might ask me, I've never heard open refine before. What is that? Well, because it's common does not necessarily mean you always know everything about it, or you know about it anyway. So these are day-to-day use. Excel is widely known, not common, right? It doesn't mean there's some people who don't know Excel. You can argue with that. I mean, you'll be like, why don't people know Excel? It's the same way you can talk about a person who is popularly known and then say, why don't you don't know this person? And you're like, no, I don't. Who is that? Yeah. So because it's known, it's common, doesn't mean it's a general knowledge, right? Even general knowledge is not general, if you get what I mean. I know. Let's just continue what we're doing. So beginner level, you can use Microsoft Excel, Google Sheets, sorting, filtering, removing duplicates, find and this and that. And of course, we have Power Query, where we're talking about more good advanced way of cleaning. We'll talk about Power Query, and yes, we have that. Intermediate, don't worry, I just don't worry about the levels and all of that. Open Refine, but yes, they can be put that way. Open Refine is a tool as well, designed for large messy data, really, for exploration. It's open source, it's free, right? It's free. You can have at some point, if you're not using things like Tableau Prep, for example, you're not using Tableau Prep, you're not using Power Query in Power BI, you can't use Python, you can't use all of this, right? Tableau Prep is paid anyway, so you can go for Refine, right? There's something about it. And for the advanced parts, very fast and reliable always. Like I said, these are not just too specific. I've mentioned Tableau, I've mentioned Power BI. We have some others like that. So, but open source, we're looking at open source, free, your quick go-to, no payment, nothing. We have Python. That's what we talk about. Pandas, very fast, efficient. We have R, right? We have R as well. All right, so that's that about your cleaning kit. If you're not doing anything serious, just stick to it. Microsoft Excel and Google Sheets. It will do your job for you literally. So you don't need to stress that much, okay? And okay. So always back up your raw data. Very important. Document changes. Very important. Context is king. Context is king. Please. That means your data, that's why it's not a one size fits all thing. It's not a general rule of thumb, right? The way I did it might not necessarily apply to you. Why? Because there are factors involved. The way your data is collected, the demographics, the this, the that, the business rules, and all of those things. So context, your context is what is king. So because I deleted a row of data in a particular data set for good reason that you might not know. You say, okay, if you deleted it, I'm deleting. That's why you have all of this guide. We've talked about asking questions. So that is enough to put you to rest, to put your mind to rest, and calmly and confidently handle data cleaning. Okay, it's not that serious. Cleaning should not distort reality. You should not clean so much that then it's looking far away from. In fact, the raw data is now better than the clean data. No, it should not be that way, right? And you do it step by step. Right? If you notice that I broke it into step for you, that way you can keep your thought process right straight. Your mind is not dabbling on, okay, I have not done this, I have to do this, and then you miss the steps, they are not in line, right? For example, if you were to do this in Power Query, for example, and you want to first, let's say, change all data type, right? If you change all data type at once, it will put that in a single step for you. If you have knowledge of Power Query at all, coming in future videos anyway, it will put it in a single step for you, right? And list out all the columns in there if you check the M code part. But if you change the data type, do something else, change another data type, do something else, you have that step multiple times. So it's just messing up the Power Query section of things, right? Don't worry if you don't understand. In future videos, you still understand what I'm saying. But if you have a knowledge of Power Query, you understand what I mean perfectly. So to keep your line of thoughts, linear, right? It's easy that way. You go a step after another, right? Something like that. So do it step by step and you validate. You make sure that reality is still reality. Your data doesn't become synthetic or looking dumb after you clean it. All right. So again, these are just some quick guides. Scrolling up, but still scrolling. These are just some quick guides I put together for you. If you like them, you want to like the video, leave a comment. If you have more, maybe there's something missing, if you feel there's something missing, or if you, oh, what about this, or you have a question, anything at all, like I always say, use the comment section effectively. Feedback is welcomed. Don't forget to subscribe, turn on the notification bell. You'll get notified when there's a new video. If you're getting so much value from this, so turn on the notification button so that when there's a new video, you'll be the first person to be notified. Okay. All right, and that's it about data cleaning preparation. Okay, about formatting, right? We have some quick formatting tips that I'm not sure I mentioned during the cleaning or the formatting part. Let's just go to that sheet. Let's see what we have there. All right, so in the formatting sheets, what could we have done differently? Majorly, just some hints and tips is that, okay, if you have a currency value, it's either you format that column as currency or you just add it at the top if you don't want to add everything below, right? For example, I can just put a pound sign here if this is a currency, so I know, okay, these are all the values for that, depending on your context, why you do that. Okay, majorly use the number formatting well, because number formats are the major things that we format most of the time. So if the number is a date, format as date. If it's a unit, format in that unit. It's very important, right? Very important. Headers should be slightly different. If you have calculated columns, you might, of course, all of these fancy things, you will do them in Excel, not in Power BI or in Tableau. Okay, so, but just the most important thing is that do not let your audience start thinking while looking at your data. That's one word you should go with. For example, if I didn't put 100 here, right? We have scores. Not necessarily all scores are over 100. It could be some random exam online. Let's say we just call PT test or JQ test or CZ test, right? I will just have that there. And I don't know the total value, right? I won't be able to know who did well, who did not. Do you understand the point now? So do not let your audience think for you. Give them a data whereby they can, oh, okay, it's over 500. Okay, this person did well. Oh, this is this. Oh, this is the US. Oh, this is this. This is Nigeria. This is Cameroon. This is Germany. This is Russia. You know, You give them the context. You let them know what is going on. They don't have to start thinking and thinking and thinking for you. You're saying, sorry, I didn't complete my job. Can you finish that for me? Right? So something like that. You have titles, visual. You keep the visual balance as well. You can see that here I didn't use a black border, right? And here I didn't use black borders as well. I used white just to demarcate them, right? But if it's black, there's a visual I don't have the word imbalance. Let me just use the word imbalance that it causes, right? My eyes start picking different things, and of course, in reality as well, we will not use all of this kind of conditional formatting in a single data like this, right? We can keep balance, right? So visual balance is important. I use slightly gray here just to keep the visual balance. The things that are bold, the black, they are there for reasons, right? The one that is blue up here is there for another reason. The one that is italicized, gray, all of those things are there for visual balance. Like I said, give your audience the context. Don't let them think for you, right? It doesn't mean you'll get everything perfectly. I'm just saying, but do your best to do basic things right. Okay, just do basic things right. All right. Yeah, there'll still be a video dedicated to shortcuts. You can work faster and all of those things. But what is the next video? What are you expecting next after this? I'm not sure, but just check it out. How do you know? When you subscribe, you turn on the notification bell, you put it on all notifications. So when a new video drops, you get to know. All right, and that is it for this video. Now, cleaning and data guide. Yeah, our data cleaning and prep guide, whatever you want to call it. And I will see you in the next one. Ciao.